All right, guys, we are back with another episode of Favor. So today I have a guest, and this is going to be such a great conversation. Y'all are going to love this. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the people?
Yes. Hello, sweetie. I am Katrina. I always introduce myself on social media as AKA Mineral Ask Mineral Mama. Okay. And I am the author of two books, two amazing books. They're more than books, it's the blueprint for our civilization and our time. Maybe not just for this time, but the next civilization as well. So, one book is called Stolen Intellect: Recovering the Missing Link to Generational Health. And the second book is From Stolen Intellect to a Genius Revolution, Awakening a Movement to Heal Generations. And so that's why I'm on the planet. That's why I'm
Yes.
here.
And I try to share your videos every time I see them. And I just want to say this really quickly for everybody else. I just found Miss Katrina's page probably a few months ago. And we were talking prior to this. So like the algorithm can do certain things, but like this was exactly what God was placing in my path because he knew I needed like I when you searching for answers for things and you being for me I feel like when I'm genuinely searching for something and I can't figure it out, I have to take a break sometimes, and then next thing I know something will be in my eyesight, and you one day were just in my eyesight, and it just from the jump, whatever you were talking about, it wasn't the oatmeal one, it was another video, but like just how you were explaining things, it was a connection. I was like, this is what I've been thinking about. This is, but it's not even just thinking about it. It's when you can tell they're thinking about it in the exact same way. Like I understand how she's breaking it down and what she means. If you thinking that, go further, go further. It's so much more than what you think, and that's what I loved about your videos. So
Thank you.
yeah, I just wanted to get that out so that everybody can understand. I will be tagging her at like all the other episodes. I tag everybody, but also just so y'all can know to go to her page. If you feel like you've been missing something, I promise you, this is what you need to hear. So we are going to get started. Miss Katrina, is there anything on your mind fresh right now? Because we can talk about whatever.
Is there anything on my mind? The next part of the movement is right? It's a genius revolution. And so somebody might ask, what does that mean, right? What do you mean it's a genius? You're ushering in a divine genius revolution. I have one friend of mine she goes through a lot of stuff emotionally, just life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like one of the main things that's keeping her here, we all need some kind of hope
Mm-hmm.
to keep us here, to hold us, to keep us
Right.
grounded, right? Something to work toward. A lot of the movements we heard about, we learned about in school, right? But something else dynamic is happening, right? And the Most High have me creating this genius revolution, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so it is like one of the most amazing things that we all need a vision, right? It's a without a vision, the people perish. So although we have our individual visions, we need a collective vision too. And so
Right.
the Most High gave me the vision for all of us,
Right.
right? So imagine carrying this it's not a weight or a burden, right? But it is huge. And so the best thing that I could do was write it in the book. So that way, whoever don't ever meet me, maybe come across the book. Whoever don't come across the book, maybe end up with a t-shirt one day. Who don't have a t-shirt, right? Right. I'm just trying to create different avenues so we can
Yeah.
all be guided, right? In the same way, same space. So what the Genius Revolution is about in America, a lot of we do not realize, and made me want to cry. We don't realize how we are being erased,
Oh
how
yeah.
we are being murdered every day, right? We think a disease, right? You think the progression of a disease, we think that's natural. The Most High has a perfect recipe, right? And that perfect recipe is our birthright, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that means that when you know the perfect recipe, that means your birthright is generational intelligence, generational good health and longevity. The struggles in school, the struggles with our children, the struggles with our health, right? That I don't know how to calculate this, right? Or my reading is compromised, or my child got a diagnosis. All of that is not real. Only thing that means is that you're missing one of the four ingredients to a recipe, right? You're missing one of the four ingredients. So the Genius Revolution is to pour what is missing, which is the seed. We got to put that seed back into our everyday diet because the ocean is a part of is the ocean is responsible for our thyroid health, our heart health, right? And our brain health.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're not getting the nourishment from the sea, which we're not, there's nowhere in our diet, it's the sea. We might be eating fish, but it might be a fish from a lake, fish from a river, right?
Or
But not
artificially made fish.
artificial, right? Or farm raised,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it looks like you have all these options, but none of these options are coming from the ocean. So we keep struggling with our health, right? Our mental health, right? So all of that is a reflection and of a people who are missing. So most of the people on the planet, they're getting this naturally. If you live by the ocean, there's going to be a natural intelligence with those people, right? A lot of times they're going to speak more than one language. Now, if you live in a country who brings the ocean to the people, all the people, in the form of an iodine salt program, those people are going to be naturally intelligent because that was the purpose of the program. The
Mm-hmm.
iodine salt program is to say, you're going to be intelligent. Boop, you're intelligent because I'm bringing you the recipe for God's recipe. So if
Mm-hmm.
anything I'm bringing you in nature, of course it's going to work because the Most High created it. So they're
Mm-hmm.
keeping people here in America, they're keeping us out of the loop. We're about one of the only people in the whole world who are not getting this mineral supplement. So when you see 160 million people that can't read in the United States, that's the people, that if you count 160 million, in Japan, they got about 130 million. So imagine a whole country of Japan that can't read past the fourth grade. How
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable do you think they would be? Still got to vote, still sign contracts, right? Still
Yeah.
vulnerable,
Yeah.
still going to be manipulated, right? By every entity, hospitals, courts, always manipulated.
Right.
We got a whole country of people that can't read. But because the people that can read, they going about business as usual. Well, I can read. Well, it's not just about reading. It's not just about literacy. Because when you can't calculate strategically and you struggle to read, that means you could also struggle to think
To comprehend. Yeah.
strategically,
Yeah.
right? That means also their mood, right? So when you hear them say women after having a baby have what do they call that? After we have a baby
Oh,
and
postpartum.
postpartum, thank you. So with that whole postpartum, I'm like, that's not true either. You just gave birth and just donated your minerals to somebody else, and you don't know how to replenish what you just lost.
Mm.
So we're walking around. So whenever you see a woman, I saw a woman on social media. The husband was like, look at her. She's throwing all the refrigerator out, all the trash, all the food out the refrigerator. Well, I stopped looking at what she was doing and I looked at who was in the room: a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old. She done donated. Her
Yeah.
thyroid is so compromised, and the thyroid nourishes the brain. So her whole brain, mood, her emotional instability, she all jacked up, right? And don't nobody know how to go in there and help her because we don't realize that she's missing a part of the divine recipe, the ocean.
Mm.
And so if she's missing it, guess who else missing it? Those are going to be the children that are going to be struggling in school. And then they going to say, oh, it's the mama's fault or the daddy's fault or the school's fault.
So it's like a cycle.
It's a worse cycle because the nation, United States, already know what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know what the problem is. The people just don't know what the problem. They don't know that there was a legislation that was passed back in 1948. And my book talks about it. I have a chapter called 1948.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what happened in 1948, y'all? A lot happened in 1948, right? That's the 1948. They withheld the cure for syphilis, right?
Mm.
That syphilis was created in 1948. They didn't give the cure for syphilis to the 600 black men and they wives and they children. In 1948, Israel was established, right? But guess what else happened in 1948 that don't nobody know about?
What?
It was time for the iodine salt program so we can have generational intelligence to activate the brain so the brain can spark. When you activate the brain with that ocean, with the substance, the minerals from the ocean, when you activate that brain to spark, right? This to spark them neurons to fire. That's the process as an infant that the brain begins holding and storing wisdom and information. But if that spark never happened, then it's like you just go to school, but nothing sticks. That's why our
Mm,
children don't know their name at school. They barely know their name. They don't know their phone number. They don't know their address. They don't know if they left something behind. They don't know to pick it up, that it's theirs. They don't know. It's
mm-hmm.
not that they're not being taught. They're at school all day, every day, 5 days a week for 9 months out the year. So that's not it. The brain never got the spark that it needed. So let me just say this part. So when you meet people around the world, you're like, oh, look at this Nigerian. You don't say that Nigerian is intelligent because eventually you meet so many of them, you're like, they are intelligent. You
Mm,
are measured as a nation of people, right? No one ever says this Japanese is intelligent. We say, oh, Japanese are intelligent. They also got the recipe, the
mm,
iodine recipe. They also got the ocean recipe. Korea, China, right? South
mm-hmm.
America, Canada, Mexico. And so that's why people are able to speak two languages, or three, or four, or five, right? And we can't even speak one in America. And everybody outside of America try to figure out, why are y'all struggling? Why are y'all unaliving people? Why did y'all just kill your mother, your father, your children, your mate? What's happening with y'all over there in America? Because the same nutrients, the same minerals that nourish your brain, right? It also nourishes the neurotransmitters. In the neurotransmitter area, your serotonin, your serotonin, your dopamine and serotonin, right? Your neurotransmitters is responsible for your mood, your thinking, your calm. So what that means is if you there's no iodine, if you go to 0 to 10, 0 to 10 is where they unalive everybody.
Mm,
But iodine mind, it brings you back to calm. And in calm, from here you make decisions, rational decisions. But if you don't have the iodine in the brain to nourish just all the parts of the brain, then you make irrational decisions. And so that's why we look weird to people around the world. That's why
mm-hmm.
and the United States knows this. So what they're creating and manufacturing is a world of chaos and confusion and death. That's what's happening here in America.
It just seemed like all of this is unnecessary and it's a distraction from the bigger picture of what they're trying to do. So all of what you were saying, like I get that because it's not just so it's not so simple of like, well, they just do this to black people. They're doing this to everybody. They're doing this to everybody. Because if I don't know, I can't fight back.
Right. But the reason that they're doing it to everybody, I say in my book, I said white people are casualties in this war,
Mm,
but black people, the indigenous people are
mm-hmm.
the targets.
Right.
Right. It's just like during the time when they said, "Oh, let's have universal health care." They would have gladly gave it to the white people. White people all around the world got universal health care. But it's
Right.
like, dang, if we give it to the white people, then
You
black
got to
people
get it to
don't have
everybody.
it. Right. And so it's like the same thing with the iodine. So what happens is what people don't know is that when they're children, when you see children on the special needs bus, the ones that are hearing impaired, right,
Mm-hmm.
vision impaired,
Mm-hmm.
right, or the ones that their body is physically damaged,
Mm-hmm.
that was all preventable. So when you see people in wheelchairs, like that, and it happened at birth, and
Mm-hmm.
or they can't walk or one limb, if the brain is not nourished, the brain can't connect with the rest of the body. So without the iodine, right? And the brain and the body is not able to communicate effectively. And so the body is saying, brain, I heard you say something. Did you say make both legs the same, or did you say make one leg four inches and the other one 9? I can't quite, right. So that's what started happening. So
Mm.
not only does it damage the brain, it started damaging the body too. So when
Hmm.
you see children and people that are growing up physically, that's the damage that was preventable. All of it is preventable. That's the kind of ugly that we dealing with that don't nobody really understand. And that's my purpose, is to translate that information so that you understand this is where we are, but this is what we're gonna do about it.
Okay. That's a lot. So I told you earlier, my daughter has sickle cell.
Yes.
So with before I got pregnant, I didn't even know that I carried the trait. I didn't know that her dad carried the trait. And that he has a niece that actually has the actual disease. So I wasn't even, I had my daughter when I was 17. So like I didn't think to even ask those type of questions. I say this a lot to people. When you're young and you just doing stuff, like you're not wondering, does this run in your family? Does this run in your family? Because I would have never thought sickle cell of all things, because I didn't know anybody who had it. Um, and so we went, she's, knock on wood, like she's been good so far, for a while. But like when she was born, I want to say a few months after she was born, we started, because like I told you, I stay in Tennessee. So we were going up to Nashville to Meharry, and that's how we found out what she had and like the treatments and all that stuff. So it wasn't explained to me in that sense of like something was missing.
They're not going to ever explain it, because
Right.
remember this, he who controls the information controls the word, right? So their job is to control the information, to suppress the information, for you not to ever know. So back in the day, when I was growing up and I was younger, when two people came together to get married and you went to the courthouse for the marriage license, that's when you had to be tested for sickle
I
cell.
heard that. Well, I didn't hear it had to be for sickle cell, but I heard they made people do blood tests.
It was for sickle cell, though. That was the
Oh wow, I
main
didn't know that.
motive for sickle cell. Absolutely. Right.
Oh,
That was, but now that it's like really more, it mostly affects Black people, it's like, well, let them have sickle cell and not care.
so other people were getting tested for sickle cell as well before they got to the point and was saying that like it just predominantly affects Black people. So I'm trying to remember if it was a video that I saw of yours or somebody else, but they were talking about sickle cell in the sense of like, um, gosh, I'm trying to remember. They were just talking about how it came to be about, like in that sense of, I guess, testing or something, because of it was something about malaria in Africa, something like that, and they just attributed that to sickle cell or something. I'd have to watch the video again, so I can't.
I
I'm
was in
probably
public health and we had to learn that when I was in school. I don't
okay.
know all the very details, but I'm
Right.
not getting caught up because that part don't matter. What matters is how does you alleviate the pain, you know what I'm saying, that she's in, if she has full-blown sickle cell. So
Right.
there's a doctor called Dr. Wallach. Dr. Wallach, Joel Wallach, Joel. Dr. Wallach was saying that people with sickle cell, they need about 1,000 micrograms of selenium. The rest of us only need 400 micrograms, right? But he said they need about 1,000 micrograms,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he says that in his book called Dead Doctors Don't Lie,
Mm.
right? So you can read about that in his book. He gives you the answer. This guy was genius. He was brilliant, and he and the other doctor that he worked with, Doctor not Doctor, his name gonna come to me in a minute because he's in my book too. Dr. Gerhard Schrouser,
Mm-hmm.
right? He would give out like awards to doctors around the world if they could figure out how to take this selenium and come back and use it in your practice and come back and let us know the testimonies, right? Of what, and so what they think, what this is what they know is that when women have breast cancer, anybody had lung cancer, breast cancer, cervical cancer, lung, all these different liver, kidney, saw one thing. Don't nobody have a disease again. People have, this is what people have. In the bread, they have something called potassium bromate. It's in
Mhm.
the bread, right? And so in that bread, it's like a flame retardant. That new
Mhm.
car smell that you can smell that new car, it's like a flame retardant. That's in our bread. So when you're eating bread, it's break that eating bread, flour, dough,
Mhm.
right? In America, because other people banned this bromate in their flour a
Mhm.
long time ago. They already knew that it was breaking down the kidney, right? So when
Yep.
you're breaking down the kidney on the way of it breaking down, they're saying, "Oh, okay, so you have kidney disease." It's like, no, you're that person is being murdered. That person is being erased because you see. But as long as you call it a disease and you think, oh, it's just something that naturally happened to me, and you're not looking for a perpetrator, you're not saying, hey, international, courts, we're in a genocide right now. You're not thinking that, so you're not filing any charges because you think it's a natural progression to it is not natural, right? That's a selenium deficiency, but your country not going to teach you, right, about nature, right?
Right.
Their job is not prevention. The Most High governs prevention. They govern like accidents, right?
Mhm.
That's their whole purpose as a doctor was to do accidents, and they didn't have it. They didn't people don't didn't have accidents all the time, so they weren't busy all the time.
So they got to create
They
accidents.
created some work for them.
This is why I keep telling my daughter everything is a business. Everything is a
Yes,
business.
yes. And here we are, right? And so you haven't filed any charges saying, hey, I'm being murdered, right? Because if you thought you were being murdered, you would be writing a police report. You would be constantly, you know what I'm saying, putting in some kind of litigation. You would be looking for a lawyer, but you're not
Mhm.
even thinking along that lines because you don't even know that you're being poisoned.
That was that was part of my thinking while I was doing dialysis, because I went into the hospital July uh, 2024, and it happened out of the blue. Like I had like high blood pressure and stuff prior to that, but like I remember my daughter was going through a crisis at that time, and so we had been up in Vanderbilt at her doctor's appointment, or doctor's office, or whatever. She had been hospitalized for like a week, which usually is about the length of time that she's usually there. Anyway, so while we're there, now I'm from the South, so I'm used to the heat. I'm a bigger girl. I've been bigger, so again, I'm used to this heat, and so I just remember when this happened, I was probably like 50 pounds heavier. And so I just remember thinking, damn, it's hot as heck out here. Like it would just I kept feeling like I was about to pass out. Actually the words that I used to say is like I could literally see me slamming into the pavement. Like it was that clear in my head. I was that hot. I'd never been that hot though. That's why I was confused. Because again, like I said, I'm used to the heat here, all of the things, right? And so about a week or so after she got out of the hospital, I end up in the hospital, like the week after 4th of July. And I was so severely dehydrated. I remember I was in the emergency room for 4 days. And then by the fourth day, the doctor came in, the nephrologist came in and said, your kidneys are functioning at less than 10%. And I was like, I don't even understand what that's supposed to mean. So you telling me I'm about to die? And I've been going to the doctors just, throughout my life. And you mean tell me nobody told me or gave me any type of indication that something was going on with my kidneys? They make you do urine samples and stuff. What the hell are y'all testing for if you're not testing, what I'm saying, to see about the stuff? And so I never had any problems with my kidneys. I had kidney stones once or twice, but that wasn't nobody saying that they were shutting down. So when he said that, he was like, we need to get you started on dialysis right away. I did not know the stress that dialysis was going to put on my body. I just knew that at this point, I was familiar with dialysis because two of my uncles had did it. One of them passed away, and the other one had a kidney transplant. But I just remember how deformed the one who passed away. I remember how deformed his arm was. And that's all I kept thinking about was like, oh my God, I'm not good with needles. Jesus, I don't know, like, how did we get to this point? And so, long story short, like, I had so many unnecessary surgeries, but it was like, I'm starting to listen to God. I'm starting to listen to my body because my body is connected to God, right? And so when that happened, it had to be like October of, no, like August or so of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm being more proactive about, listening, and not, I wasn't going to dialysis 3 days a week at that point, because some days I would wake up, I'd be exhausted. And I'm like, no, I'm just not going to do it today. I'm trying to listen to my body, essentially, is what was going on. After a while, they started getting irritated. They was like, well, if you're not going to be coming, like, we can put you on a different schedule, all these things, right? But my point is, I was getting to, was like, okay, so I'm gonna try to sum this up really quickly. So I had made a post about an interview that I did right before I got sick. Um, and I remember in the caption I was writing about it. I was like, I was putting off watching this video again and all this stuff or whatever. But when I went back to watch it about a week ago, there was so much like information for me, because I hadn't went through I hadn't went through dialysis and all that stuff yet, but the person I was talking to had been through some life changes. So everything that she was saying to me directly felt like God, like, hey, pay attention. You are, because I kept putting off watching the video because I was like, man, this shit feels embarrassing. Like, I felt like I did a bad job, right? So I just kept avoiding watching it. But little did I know how much I needed to rewatch it, because it confirmed a lot of my reasoning for stopping, my reasoning for like partnering with God with everything in my life. And I was like, when I decided to be more proactive, this was back in January of this year. We had a snowstorm here. And I remember I was in the hospital for 6 days, had 2 unnecessary surgeries. And when I got out, this wasn't nothing but God, Katrina. This wasn't nothing but God. It rarely snows here. It rarely snows. Girl, I got out of the hospital. The city was shut down for a week. Like, you could not get in or out. So when I got out of the hospital, like maybe the night before the storm, I couldn't even get out to go to dialysis even if I wanted to. But I had made it up in my mind when I got out of the hospital, I'm taking a break. I need to, what did I say? I need to restore my nervous system, because every time I would get up for dialysis, I would feel, it's like my stomach would be in knots. Now I don't know what an ulcer feel like, but I'm not trying to speak anything over my body. Additionally, I'm like, I'm just not going to deal with this. They got so pissed. And I didn't care. They sent the police to my house to do a welfare check. All of
Wow.
these things because they thought I was going crazy. You think somebody? No, because I now know to listen to my body. I must be crazy. I was crazy for listening to y'all, making
In
me
the
feel
first
like this was
place.
my only option.
Right.
And everybody, most of the people in there, I would say most of the people in there were Black.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me add this.
Hmm.
Let me add this part. In my book, I talk about Finland, and I said Finland adds selenium to their fertilizer, and then they use the fertilizer on their food, and so that way they're getting selenium naturally. So I say if they're getting selenium on a regular basis, then when I go and research their kidney levels, their kidney disease, it shouldn't be none. Guess what? When I research what's the kidney disease levels at less than 5%, it would really not no issue, right? Because it's a proactive thing. You
Right.
have to operate in the realm of protection. If the Most High gave you a recipe, see, when we went back to school, see, that's why I made the video say they are lying, that everything is a lie,
Yeah.
right? Because when you go to school, remember the lesson of the 4 elements of matter? And they say,
Mm-hmm.
what's the 4 elements of matter? And we say, oh, earth, air, fire, and water. Remember learning that? But
Mm-hmm.
what did it
Like
mean?
Captain Planet. Yeah.
Well, what did it mean? It don't mean anything. But if somebody said, forget the 4 elements of matter, let's call this the 4 elements of life. I bet you would have remembered the 4 elements of life, because you're not going to have life unless you have all of these 4 elements equally and consistently all the time, every day on the I bet you would have remembered. but they taught us some bull crap. So that's why don't nobody know what the elements are.
I remember when I had did dialysis one time. It's a bunch of times, but I remember this one time specifically. My aunt, one of my aunts used to, and she still does, like she'll send me videos about the truth about dialysis and all these different things, right? And so I was already doing my own research and like, you because the thing is they always talk about, oh, well, it's about your nephrons and you can't grow them back and all these things. And so I'm like, I know I ain't crazy. And I know that Jesus, I know God got me. I know he can heal my body. I'm not even going to give y'all that type of energy. But I remember because they do labs on us, because I ain't doing it no more. They would do labs on us every week. Well, actually every day, I guess, when you go. Anyway, and so I remember one of the guys that was a nurse, he would how they have the vials for the blood and all that stuff, whatever. One of them, the tubes that they go in, one of them was a green tube, and he called it the money tube. So when my auntie would send me these videos, I'm like, wait, what? So I remember asking him, why do you call it the green tube? And he was like, because this is the one that we get paid for. Now, I don't know specifically what would make him say that to me, but at the same time, I have no reason to lie. Also, it just made sense when, like I said, like the stuff that she would send me and then how they would talk at work in front of us as if like nobody's paying attention. Your job is your job, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, when I'm asking questions about my care, now it's a problem. I want to know what are you checking for? So when I would ask for like a printout of like all of the testing and all the different things, well, you can go on the app and get that. No, I want you to print it out. And so when I left, I got it printed out so that I could at least be up to date on, like where my levels were. Because if it was that bad, if somebody was like, okay, Katrina, you got, I don't know, 6 weeks to live. Well, who told you that? Because I don't subscribe to that. Like I don't know where you got that number from.
Right.
And that's exactly what it felt like. It's like you telling me I got something, but then when I'm trying to be involved and proactive in this, now you telling me no, it's not. So you see why I don't trust you. So
Right. Plus, you let me get here in the first place, even though I was coming to see you on a regular basis, right? And now I'm shutting down. So now your levels are good. The kidneys functioning at higher than 10%.
as far as I know, I am good. I had catheters when I first got them. Like I had one on this side. I don't even want to get into all that. Ended up having to get that replaced, and then in January of this year, it got infected really bad. So again, that was a whole nother surgery for something else, and then so they put another one on this side because I was like, after them trying to put it in my arm, which this was back in December of last year, that was one of the unnecessary surgeries because what they do is it's supposed to, and it's still, I don't, you could see like a little thing in my arm right there.
Yes.
So is that, and then it's like you can see like an incision under my arm. Anyway, so I say all that to say, when this stopped working, they was like, well, we have to get you something, to so that you can still do treatment. Okay, well, the only other option is for you to stick something in my arm. And I'm not going there. I'm not doing that with y'all. But they made it seem like that's the only option. So I go, I have my consultation. I really still feel like that doctor was on cocaine. But anyway, his behavior and the things that he would talk about, you know, if if I told you about all of this later, like it would make sense because once I
He
was in the
probably was
hospital,
on cocaine.
I'm not surprised. I told them, I was like, either he is on the spectrum or his ass is on cocaine. Like something about him was very off,
And your
very
spirit
off.
picked up on it.
And he was like one of the what do you call it, on the board or something for the hospital. And nobody ever like they wouldn't go back and forth with him because if you're a bad damn doctor, you're just a bad doctor. Like, anyway, didn't get into all that. But anyway, so he ended up doing the surgery thing. They call it ballooning the vein, right? And so it's supposed to take about 8 weeks to strengthen. So in the process, they're listening with the stethoscope, trying to listen for like a heartbeat, right? To see if it's working. I
Yeah.
knew before the surgery this was not going to work. God kept telling me, don't do this, because my nerves were bad. And I was just like, but they're telling me I got to do it. Forget it. I'll just get it done. It never worked. It never worked. Not one time did it ever work. And this is the part that pissed me off when I was in the hospital back in January, and I remember my arm was so sore because it was still in my arm. That's another thing they did. I think it's called a graft or something, where they use, from what I was told, they use like animal skin on the inside to like create a vein or something. That was another thing. I was just like, I don't even know if this is a pig, a cat. Like, we don't even know what this is, but it's not interacting with my body correctly. Okay, the way that y'all are used to. So you're looking at me as if like, oh, well, if it don't work, we can just go back in. You ain't gonna just keep cutting on me. Like, that's the part that just kept like blaringly, like, in my face. So when I told them, I'm like, my arm is sore. Well, it still shouldn't be sore. It's been over 8 weeks. I don't care what it should be. I'm telling you what it is. They told me that once it's in there, they can't take it out. I said, I'm sorry. So you mean to tell me that you just leave stuff like this in people's arm, even if it doesn't work? Well, it's a possibility. No, absolutely not. Take it out. Well, they're probably not going to take it out. You want to bet they took it out? You're not going to have me. Like I said, I saw my uncle's arm. Anybody that's seen somebody do dialysis, like in their arm, that mess gets so deformed and like it just looks painful. And because they were never able to use mine, I could still feel everything in my arm. It's like you had a tube in there and it just hurt to move it. So I don't really trust doctors, not specifically, but yeah, that really turned me off. So like I said, at this point, God, I'm just going to listen to you. I am going to walk by faith, and that's what I've been doing. And if y'all don't like it, you just don't like it. Like at this point, I'm not going to keep playing with this body. I'm just not going to do that.
You got to look at it another kind of way. It's like looking at the police when the police then shot somebody in the back, and we look at
Mm-hmm.
the police. But the police is like the overseer,
Mm-hmm.
right? The overseer got permission from the plantation owner. The
Right.
plantation had the power it had because of the court system and the government and everybody at play, right?
Right.
And so everybody at play was the reason that. So by the time you're looking at the overseer or the police, right, that's just a low hanging fruit.
Right.
And
Right.
so when you're looking at your doctor, it's the same way. The
Yeah.
doctor's in the same position as the police, as the overseer, right?
Right.
You got to go to, well, who's giving them the authority
Hold
over the
on. Hold on. That's literally what he said when I walked in his office, the one that did the actual surgery. I didn't know him before any of this. Because there's another thing that I had prior to that. It was a catheter I did in my stomach. I was supposed to do at home dialysis, a whole nother bad situation. Anyway, I went to my appointment to him after I had got it removed because come to find out I had a staph infection. Shout out to the black doctor who found that. Love him to pieces. But when I went to this doctor for the consult for my arm, this is why I said I thought he was on cocaine, because he walked in with such loud energy and he said, the first thing he said to me was, I hate PD catheters. And I was like, well, why do they do that? He was like, because and I even told the girl at the doggone dialysis place I was going to, this is the surgeon y'all sent me to. He said he hates PD catheter. I said, why would they send me to get a PD catheter? Then he was like, because they get referral fees. He was like, follow the money. I swear to you, he said, follow the money. And it just makes more sense the more, like you just said, like by the time he comes into the picture, the damage has already been done. Like the wheels have been set in motion.
Yeah. Don't just focus on the money.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go past the money.
Yeah.
Right. Let's go to objectives. Let's
Yeah.
go to who want to erase us. Let's go to who want to destiny
Yeah.
swap with us.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're talking now you're going into Zionism, right? You're going into the baby eaters, right? You're going into the people who destiny swapping with us. You're going into the people that don't nobody want them nowhere on the planet. But guess what they are? They over here. They over here on the United States soil. They over
Mm-hmm.
here on your turf in your territory, and they have become the Secretary of State, the over the education system, over the medical system. They are in strategic those in the scripture when it talks about right that we are at war with these principalities in higher places, right? They are the these evil rulers in higher places. What's
Mm-hmm.
the higher places? Over the medical system,
Mm-hmm.
over the education system, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the Department of Treasury, over your money,
Right.
over the government, right?
Right.
So it's past money,
Right.
right? We into some people that hate people. We're in a fight right now in this day and time. And the fight is not a colorful fight, it's not an ethnicity, right? We've been bickering amongst ourselves and fighting amongst
Mm-hmm.
ourselves for a long time. But this war where we are now, this revolution, it's about humanity
Yeah.
versus inhumanity,
Yeah.
right? So we're still falling under the brunt of inhumanity,
Yeah.
right? Inhumanity don't care about money, it don't care about color, it don't care about it, just erasing
Mm-hmm.
everybody that it can erase. So that's where we are. So these are just like little small, maneuvers, little small scenarios, experiences, but
Mm-hmm.
always keep your eye on the huge who's behind this
Right.
system. How can you can't go right now to another country you would be an immigrant if you
Mm-hmm.
went to another country and you wouldn't strategically find yourself in positions of the president of that country. You wouldn't be the Secretary of State. You wouldn't be over their education. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be over their medical. You wouldn't be over nothing. These
Mm-hmm.
people are strategically in place of power
Mm-hmm.
for us. That's what the fight is.
Yeah.
You're not just your doctor.
No,
It
no, no. I get that, but I'm just saying, like when he said follow the money, it made sense because I'm the type of person I love pulling on a thread because I love
okay.
going down the rabbit hole. And I already knew if you're telling me that the reason that they did it is to line their pockets in some other way, I know that that's not uncommon. It happens everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
but there's a bigger reason why. So,
Follow the inhumanity.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I say that a lot. I say that people are just happy. A lot of times people are just happy being shepherds for the devil. So this makes even more sense as well because if you're a shepherd for the devil, you definitely don't care about humanity.
Sometimes they don't know. They just like we just know what we've been taught. We've been taught, indoctrinated, go to the doctor, right? Not to think outside the box. Like now we're all doing. We're all awakening, right? And we all have a part in this awakening movement that's happening on the planet, right? We're all and a lot of people are helping when they help us wake up, it's waking them up too, because they didn't know
Exactly.
they lied to everybody. Remember in Revelation, it says Satan deceived the whole world. How do you deceive a whole world? You got to be strategically in place in education systems around the world. See what I'm saying? In medical, that's how you can deceive a people.
Yeah. Programming from
Yeah.
birth. From, yeah. I was talking to my daughter about that the other day. I love that as I know stuff and I say, and I explain it to her, I can see the light going off in her head like that makes sense. So you won't get a chance to get to her too. Like
Yes. How old is she?
26.
Oh, okay, great. Does she have children?
No, no. She's the one I said she has sickle cell.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a cousin, he got sickle cell too. He got children, you know.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I always ask that question because I look at if I do a consultation with someone,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna like if you was to tell me my daughter is let's say 35 years old, 40 years old, and she don't have any children, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna start right there and I'm gonna go straight to you. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go straight to your health because your health is gonna help me understand that 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 child didn't get any. I'll give you a perfect example. I met a lady one time, a grandmother. She told me that her granddaughter, who was 13, had lupus. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, if the 13-year-old has lupus, then that means your daughter, that 13-year-old's mother, she got some serious health challenges
Mm-hmm.
because you can't give your daughter the minerals that she need if they're not in you, right? And
Mm-hmm.
create some disabilities, okay, in that child. And so when I met the mother a couple days later, she was telling me that she felt like she was having seizures. She felt like all her hair came out. Her heart was racing really fast. She
Mm,
lost a lot of weight. She lost her hair, right? She was vaginally dry. And I'm like, you sound like you have thyroid issues. She said, but they've been testing me. I said, but they're not trying to confirm the test until you get into a crisis. Because in a
mm,
crisis is where all the money is too. It's where the evil is, it's where the money is, right? And so she's not like a cousin of mine. A
mm,
cousin of mine, she had a lump in her breast for like 2 years,
mm,
right? And so I'm calculating where she lives. I'm not thinking about her mother at this time. I'm
mm.
thinking about you live in Ohio. You don't live nowhere near an ocean, plus a river where she lives and caught on fire like 13 times in the last 100 years
Oh, thinking about what she's breathing in.
based on and what she's eating. All
Yeah.
that is a part of the food source, your water source that come in your pipes,
Right.
right? So I'm calculating her whole environment, and I'm like, you missing an ingredient. You're missing the ocean. The ocean is nowhere near you. You by the Great Lakes, right? You're not by an ocean. So I'm like, let's take this ocean ingredient, let's apply it to your breast, iodine, and in 5 weeks before she had the biopsy, her lump was gone.
Hmm.
All we got to do is always find what ingredient, no different than you do. You might be making some brownies and you taste some brownies like something don't taste right. I missed something. It's the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? You do it every day. When you
Mm-hmm.
making these greens, I'm missing something. Something don't taste right. What did I miss?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm always searching for what we're missing, and usually it's the ocean element. But if you're from where we're from in Ohio, Detroit, the Great Lakes area, we're not just missing one ingredient in the ocean, we're also missing the sun, right? So as I grew up missing two ingredients. So many of us have thyroid issues because it's a thyroid bill.
Mm.
Thyroid means, right? So what does that mean if we had thyroid issues? It can mean a huge goiter outside the neck, right? It can
Mm-hmm.
mean difficulty swallowing because the goiter could be on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
right, of the throat. So you will hear somebody complaining that they have struggle swallowing. Like a one young lady took some iodine and she started having anxiety attacks. I'm like, what's the matter? She like, it opened my throat up. I'm used to my throat being closed and food having to be forced down. But now that
Mm.
it's normal, I'm not used to it being normal, right? And so it made her panic because everything was going down smooth. But you think she hasn't been to the doctor? They about to do surgery. You think they're gonna tell her about God's ocean? You supposed to know about the ocean. So no, they're not telling you. They trick you out of your own birthright. The ocean is your birth. The wisdom and knowledge of what the sea and ocean represents, all the minerals, right, that your whole body needs for brain, thyroid, heart health. So when people tell me that, oh, grandma died of a potassium or magnesium deficiency, I'll say, so what you're telling me is that your grandma died of an ocean deficiency because potassium and magnesium come from the ocean.
So what would be the now I don't want to call it a cure, but like what would be a good thing to do when you say like they're missing the ocean? So what exactly can they do to get that?
So what my cousin did, right, with the lump, we went and got the iodine, right? All this stuff is in my book. Because then you got
Mm-hmm.
to know which iodine, the right kind of iodine, because they'll sell you a bottle of iodine. It'll
Right.
clearly say iodine, but it won't have the potassium iodide. So in the book, I always take people straight to always get this kind. When it comes to selenium, right? They got selenomethionine, selenocysteine. They got all these different ones. I take you straight to the right one. Forget all of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go to this source right here. So when somebody come to me and they say, okay, they had cancer, I'm like, okay, right? And I pretty much like take this iodine, take this selenium. I meet this brother about 4 months later because his sister told me her brother was dying from cancer. And I say,
Mm-hmm.
how old is he? She said he's 30 years old. And I shared his testimony in the book. And I tell you exactly what I gave this young man, our whole conversation. But I give her the supplements. She goes home, she gives them to his brother. He stops taking his cancer medication. I don't know any of this because I didn't talk to them anymore.
Mm.
right? And so I go to a baby shower about 4 months later, and it's their younger sister's baby shower. So about 2 hours in, a young man comes over to me and says, I just wanted to say thank you. And I said, thank me for what? He said, well, when my sister came home and gave me the two supplements, I'm like, oh, this is the brother that almost died of cancer. So he's telling me his story, how he was bleeding from every orifice in his body. And he
Mm.
was on taking cancer medication. And he said, and then his sister comes home. He said, I stopped taking my cancer medication that night. And I only took the supplements that you sent, right? And he said he kept going to the doctor. He never told them he stopped taking the cancer medication. He
Mm-hmm.
never told them that he was taking the supplements, but they kept noticing over time he kept doing better and better and better, right? And he didn't have cancer anymore. So I say,
Mm-hmm.
let's go outside. So now we're outside because I want to hear him speak without the music in the background at the event. So now
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking up at this tall young man, about 6 feet tall, beautiful afro, healthy skin, healthy. And so then he tells me the whole story about what was happening in the hospital, how a specialist came in because he was so sick, took him off because by the time a young girl comes to me and tell me, she said, my mom and daddy, grandma, granddaddy, everybody's at the hospital. We all
Mm-hmm.
crying because he's dying. Right. And that's the version of the story I get. So now I'm getting the rest of it from him. Right.
Mm.
He's telling me his part. So he's like, so I'm good now. And I'm like, I need you to do me a favor. And he said, what's that? I said, I need you to not buy a new car. And he said, I already did. And people always say, why did you tell him not to buy a new car? I say, because he will have his immune system. It's still not strong, even though it's stronger,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that all of that new car smell, all that flame retardant, could set him back. And so what happens is he said, I already bought a car. And I said, you did? He said, yeah, I bought a new car. My whole face swelled up the next day. He said, I called my doctor. What happened? My face swelled up. I said, it was your new car.
I didn't know that there was chemicals in it like that, like the new car smell.
That's what you're smelling. That new car smell is the chemical.
But it just, I don't understand. So if you don't put that in there, I wonder what the car smell like. Like
All
what exactly are you spraying?
it's not just spraying, it's in the
The
upholstery.
vinyl, the
It's
upholstery, all of that.
in all of that. It's in all of that, right? It's a flame retardant. And so when we're up in so when you have a baby in the car, you know what I'm saying? And they even lower, they engulfed it. Everybody else engulfed it. And so that's why nobody uses it in their bread because it makes the bread stretchy, right?
Mm.
Like for burritos and stuff. That's why they use it. But other people around the world are not using it, right? And they're healthier. So I follow the trail and I'm like, you know what? They're using a lot of potassium bromate in the bread in Nigeria. And I said, they trying to wipe Nigeria out. And so
Mm.
then I looked at the kidney disease. Guess what? Kidney disease and death. Kidney disease and death by the thousands and thousands and thousands because of that potassium bromate that we eat every day and our kids eat. And then our
Mm.
kids and we get cancer. We're like, well, what happened? How we get cancer? It's like we've been eating it the whole time. They made sure that they had it in the food.
I remember when I did do dialysis, like I would write, I had a van service that I would ride to my appointments and stuff. And so I remember one of these guys, one of the last ones, was this white guy from England, London, something or other, right? So he was from over there, but he had been living here for 22 years. He was married and all this. I never forget, we were talking and he was talking about food. And so he was telling his wife something about I guess she wanted to make some spaghetti or something, right? And so
Mhm.
she had got a jar of like ragu or something. And he told her, he was like, I am not eating that. And she was like, why not? And so she's American, but he's, from over there. And so he was like, turn it around so you can see the ingredients. And so he's going through the ingredients with her, whatever. And he was like, no, I could just make it from scratch, whatever. So as he's telling me this, I said, I literally had just saw a video. This was during like the Olympics or something, right?
Mhm.
And I remember I think it was Megan Thee Stallion and one of the other Olympic people, one of the girls. They went to visit this man, this Italian man. They went to visit him, and he was making them fresh pasta and fresh sauce and all this stuff. And they were talking about like the taste, the difference in the taste. Meg needed a little bit more seasoning in hers. I remember this because of what my driver said. He was like, the stuff that we eat here is illegal over there. Like
Yeah,
they won't even sell it.
it's banned. Yeah,
Yes. He was like, I can't remember what it was in particular, but he was like,
it's everything.
yeah, but it was something he was talking about in general. But he was like, the stuff that y'all eat over here, you would absolutely like, they will arrest you for that because that's harmful to their area. Like,
It's
how crazy
inhumane.
is that?
It's inhumane.
That's pretty much what he was saying. Yeah. But you
Yes.
feed it to this, to all of these people and make it seem like there's nothing wrong. This is kind of like I was telling my daughter the other day about smoking and stuff. I said, they don't sell American cigarettes in other countries. I said, but yeah, they got tobacco and different stuff. I said, but it's not the same. I said, I remember something I was watching. They were talking about that's why they had that Surgeon General warning on there. And they had like this big, what do you call them? Advertising boards, whatever. I can't think right now.
Right. I know
But
what you're talking about.
yeah, like a poster board or something or other in another country that had I'd say Camel cigarettes or something. I don't know. But it was a ban saying that like, you're not supposed to be bringing them over here. So even your tobacco is
Yeah.
dipped in poison. Like,
It's everything. It's inhumane. And
it's
so that way they can
everything.
just take over the land without any pushback or any advocacy from anybody, right? And so, and that's the thing is we don't realize that we're, in a genocide. So we're in a modern day genocide right now. And most of us don't even know that we're in a genocide.
And that's pretty much what I was telling my daughter. I'm like, they so worried about people talking about wanting reparations. You better be glad there ain't nobody trying to file a class action lawsuit against the entire country for all this bad food. Like, from what, again, like you said, like people are starting to wake up when you realize that you have been poisoned from the beginning. Like, it's enough to make you want to burn some shit down.
Yeah, definitely. It's very painful. It's very heartbreaking.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I have to, my soul cries a lot. That's why a lot of times when I come on video and my voice crack, because that's how painful it is to me.
Yeah.
Because I can, it's almost like being able to see the whole world. So by the
Mm-hmm.
time you finish reading my two books, you'll be able to see the whole world too. You won't
Yeah.
just look at the world and look around it. You will look at, I give you these eyes to see the world, right, as if you're hovering above it. And I say, look down, the world, put the world into your hands and look down into it. When you're looking down into it, I say, y'all, now you can see the players in this earth game of life. I say
Mm-hmm.
the players are, it's it's deception, right, versus the people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's the game. Deception versus the people. They're manipulating the information and the people just basically receiving it, right? But it's and Iran was trying to help us with that, right? When they're making the videos and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
they are in this fight for humanity, right? There, you gotta. It's a worldwide right now, right? It's game on. It's game on.
Okay. Well, Miss Katrina, we're gonna end right here because this could go on forever because there's just so much that we don't know. Um, I definitely want to have you back on so that we could talk a little bit more, especially about the book and everything that you not even just the books, but just because I don't want to give it away as far as like what all is in your book because you want people to buy it. You know what I'm saying? So like we want to make sure we cover a multitude of things, and I'm just really grateful that we had this conversation because it's given me a lot to think about. It really is. But before we go, can you give the people your social media handles, how they can find you?
On TikTok, it's Ask Mineral Mama. On YouTube, Ask Mineral Mama, and I'm working on my. I'm almost done with my website, so that way I can get everybody one website, and that's going to be www.weareminerallymade because that's something I need
Mm,
us to Always know that you're minerally made, people. You're not disease made. You replenish yourself with minerals that will never be a disease.
Speaking of, I want to ask you this before we go. What are your thoughts about sea moss?
I think most of us are on the wrong CMOS, to be honest. From what I'm understanding, all the bead CMOS that we use, and that's pretty much what we're getting. I'm getting ready to go to the islands to find out what real CMOS look like. I'm tired of the farm raised. I'm tired of the secondhand information. Just because it's prevalent, it don't mean it's right. Right.
Mm,
So I gotta go see for myself because I'm finding that beige CMOS, that red, I'm finding that ain't it.
okay. Yeah, that was one of the things also that they were saying when I was doing dialysis was like, you shouldn't take that. Because all I kept hearing was like, it has 92 minerals and it's really good for you and all of this. And then it was talking about like the magnesium and all the things that you need. But from what I was told doing dialysis, from my nurse, and then also the dietitian, they're like, I don't really think that you should try that just because it's not gonna react well with your body. So again, this is just me
Think
listening to my
we got
body.
to have the ocean in multiple sources, right? And I give
Right.
you multiple sources of the ocean in the book, multiple
Right.
sources. So that's
Okay.
sea moss is just one option. There are
And it's
many.
not even the real one, but it is an option.
It's an option, but there are many options. So when
Okay.
people are still struggling on sea moss, I introduce another avenue, and they get results. And all
Okay.
that's in the book too.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, you guys, this has been another episode of Favor. We want to thank you so much again, Miss Katrina, for taking the time to go over some stuff with us and educate us. I hope that everybody that watches this, I really hope that y'all are blessed. And if you have any questions for her, please reach out. Um, as you can tell, she is well versed in what she's talking about. But also do your research, and that's because that's the main thing. They don't ever want you to do your own research. Like I said, they really started looking at me sideways when I started being more proactive about my health, and you have to ask yourself why. So anyway, again, thank you so much. We're gonna go ahead and let you go. We will have to do this again and do like a part two to this or something. So yeah, thank you again. I'm gonna let you go, and till next time, guys. Bye.
Bye, sweetie.
Okay.